fulfill, that thus it must be. Now, let's put this in perspective. 12 legions of angels. 12 legions of angels. Now, I do believe that one legion equals 6,000 angels, I believe. Brother Mac, does that sound about right? 6,000 angels. So Jesus is saying in this passage that he can send 12 legions of angels, which equals out to 72,000 angels. To give this some perspective, let's look at the power of just one angel in 2 Kings. Let's turn to 2 Kings chapter 19 and verse 35. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 35. Look at this comparison. We're talking about 72,000 angels, and we're looking at what one angel has the power to do. 2 Kings 19:35. If I get a reader there. Thanks, sister. 185,000 Assyrians. 185,000 Assyrians, one angel smote in one night. So Jesus is saying, when we go back to Matthew 26, that in the blink of an eye, he could have sent 12 legions to free him because he most certainly had the power to. But he allowed those men to arrest him so that he could complete the will of the Father, so that he could save us from sin, so that the scriptures could be fulfilled. Just thought that was amazing. 185 Assyrians, and Jesus could send 72,000 angels at any time. Comments or questions before moving on? Now let's get back and talk about John 18 and verse 8. Let's turn there and read John 18 and 8. Talk about that a little bit. Let's see if we can pick up on something here. John 18:8. I'll read that. In verse 8, Jesus answered and said, I have told you that I am he. If therefore ye seek me, let these go their way. Now, who's Jesus talking about when he referenced let them go their way? He's speaking of the apostles. So in the midst of an angry mob, Jesus still shows his concern for the apostles. Jesus may not have been concerned for his safety, but he was concerned for his apostles. The fact of the matter is that Jesus is always concerned about his followers, both then and now. We can see it in his prayers as well. When we turn back to John 17, let's go back one chapter. If I could get a reader for verses 13 through 23. Let's listen to Jesus' concern here for his disciples. 13 through 23. Okay, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Got it. 17, yes, sir. 17, 13 through 23. Oh, that's fine. Excuse me, I missed that too. John 17, yes, sir. 13 through 24. 23, excuse me, 13 through 23. There. 23. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So that word, verse 17, the King James Version says, sanctify them through thy truth. That word sanctify means to set apart. You can see the concern here that Jesus has and the compassion that he has for his disciples. He's praying for oneness. He's praying for sanctification, to be set apart from the world, even though we are in the world. But you can see, Jesus' compassion here as he prays to the Father and how he wants us to be one as he and the Father are one. Jesus also still shows some type of measure of compassion for even Judas, even after that kiss, which practically marked him for the guards to come and arrest him. Even after knowing what he did all the way up to this point, selling him out for 30 pieces of silver, he still manages to call him friend. In Matthew 26, verse 50, brethren, what a friend we have in Jesus. He wants us to know that even in the worst of times, he still longs for us to be his friend. He still has compassion and concern for each and every one of us. And that's something we definitely should not take lightly. Last thing we're going to discuss is the apostles' reaction. Let's look at John 18 and read verse 10 again, just for emphasis sake. John 18, verse 10. If I could get a reader for verse 10. So, as we see in this verse, Peter drew his sword and cut off the ear of a man named Malchus. They confirmed their willingness to die for the Lord and his cause in previous messages, and now they were ready to show it. After what we see that Jesus reacts quickly to this situation. Can you imagine where this might have gone if Jesus didn't react the way he did? How quickly he had to react to the situation? Jesus had to stop a riot from happening. And he had to protect the lives of his apostles. Just look at what these men went on to do as we continue to read the Bible throughout the New Testament. Look at what these men went on to do for the sake of Christ and his church. These are the words that Jesus spoke to diffuse the situation. And this is coming from the Eastern Standard Version. He said, stop, no more of this. Put your sword back into its place, for all those who take up the sword shall perish by the sword. Then Jesus would go on to heal Malchus's ear. Jesus played the role of peacemaker in this situation. Jesus knew that trying to fight hundreds of armed men was pointless. Besides, the apostles had a bigger purpose than physical fighting. How often do we run into those situations where we're looking at a situation and we're thinking of it as a small, minute thing, and we're not looking at the bigger picture? That happens quite often, doesn't it? Spiritual battles are not fought with physical weapons. I repeat, spiritual battles are not fought with spiritual weapons. Peter's intentions were good, but way off. He used the wrong weapon at the wrong time for the wrong purpose with the wrong motive. We unfortunately do the same thing today. by how we respond to those who do not believe the same way we do. We figuratively cut their ears off when they do not want to hear anymore. Again, Christ had to react quickly to defuse the situation. The application here is sometimes when others want us to fight or to fight for us, the best thing we can do is not fight and diffuse the situation. Again, let's go back to the Sermon on the Mount. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 5. What does Jesus have to say about peacemakers? Let's look at Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. If I get a reader there, Matthew 5, verse 9. Amen. Thank you, Lord. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God, children of God. Now, let's look at Jesus' final statement in Luke chapter 22. Turn back over, turn to Luke chapter 22. I'll be reading verses 52 and 53. Luke 22, 52 and 53. The Bible reads, Then Jesus said unto the chief priests and captains of the temple and the elders which were come to him, Be ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves? When I was daily with you in the temple, ye stretched forth no hands against me. But this is your hour and the power of darkness. What is Jesus saying there in in those ending words there? This is your hour and the power of darkness. What does Jesus mean by that statement? Anyone? In so many words, Jesus is saying that this is your moment of triumph, the hour when the power of darkness appears to have won. Even today, we see the darkness appears to win quite often, but we know that ultimately Jesus will overcome all darkness. And we see that the time as well as we work our way up to the cross. It would seem as though darkness is won, but we know that in the end, Jesus triumphed over all. Comments or question? Comments? Yes, sir. Right into his hand. Amen. Mhm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Amen. 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 I'm sure even the soldiers that was capturing them really thought they was doing something, but they were playing right into God's hands. This was his plan all along. This was his plan all along. So let's look at the overall application. Thank you, Brother Matt. Many applications can be made throughout this lesson. We can know that Christ is always concerned for his followers. We can know that even when we betray Jesus with a kiss at times, Jesus still wants to be our friend. We can also learn from this lesson that there is a way to fight spiritual battles, and anger and bitterness is not the way. We also know that Jesus has more resources than any mob can bring, and even though darkness may appear to win, Jesus will always be triumphant in the end. So where are you in this scene? Where are you in this scene? Are you the mob? Are you Judas? Are you Peter? Are you the apostles running from the scene? Are you Mark trying to get as close as you can without being seen? Fact of the matter is we all fit into this story somewhere. The main point is that God is always in control. All of this happened so the scriptures could be fulfilled. Jesus started in the Garden of Gethsemane weak, but came out strong and confirmed. Comments or questions before we get to our conclusion? In conclusion, fortunately, this event was now over. We are now off to his trials, and we'll be touching on that Wednesday. I believe Brother Craig will be teaching that class Wednesday. Hopefully you were able to learn something from this lesson that we could apply today. And that concludes our lesson this morning. I'd like to thank everyone for your attention, your reading, for your comments. I really appreciate it. And we will now get ready as we prepare for our morning worship services, which begins at 11. Again, I thank you.